Hey guys, it's Owen here, and I'm just taking a quick glance at the balance patch coming in, and it's a bit heavy-handed. Some builds have taken a ton of damage. As an easy example, I'm going to just use this beginner catalyst build. It uses empowering auras, storm soul, and pyromancer's training. And if you look at the elementals changes, you see that there's nerfs to all three of them. So empowering auras is reduced from 2% to 1%, so it's basically halved, and it's stacked up to 5 times, so you lost about 5% there. And then you lost 3% on pyromancer's training and storm soul each. So Catalyst is looking at, almost 11% damage loss on a beginner raid build. And then, as another example of something that's extremely heavy-handed is Mirage. So Nomad's Endurance is something that you'd hope you've had full uptime on. It's an increased damage with Vigor, and you lose 5% Condi damage there. And then Imaginary Axis, where a lot of your damage comes from when you do an ambush, is losing basically 33% of the damage on the clones. That's kind of a lot. And it's kind of hard to reason about because there's not good, at least I'm not aware of a good tool to show, like, this is how much of your torment is coming from clones. But I know it's not nothing, and it's very significant. If you don't have 3 clones up when you do Mirage, it's a big deal. You lose a lot of damage. So we have 2 builds here that took some pretty hefty damage. And unfortunately, when you look at things like the Hammerheart Rumble and the Starlit Wield meta event, it's not little. Like, when I do Hammerheart Rumble, I have, I've at least half the time had 1 minute left on the timer, and the timer has a 12-minute duration usually. So that means that we're within less than 10% of the remaining timer, at least half the time. At least that's what I've observed in open world NA. And it's extremely risky, in my opinion, for ArenaNet to be nerfing things that people use commonly in optimized builds, because those are the people that are carrying the damage. And so there's a huge risk here to the player base and what we're capable of. And it's all the balance raids and PvP. And so my advice, as kind of a bit of a lazy gamer, would be this is the time to do the things. Like, the meta events in Kistora, if you're working on those legendaries, they drop up to 25% of the available resource from each of the zones. Or sorry, 25 of each. You get to pick which one you get. And so, if you're working on any of those legendaries, I would say do those meta events. And if you're working on any raid achievements, this is a good time to do them. Anything that requires, heavy damage. If you need some more statues from Dragon's End, I would say go ahead and do those. Do the things while Arena figures its stuff out. I deeply oppose what's happening here. I'm sure things will work out. I'm sure there's things I'll enjoy about the game, but generally nerfing things does not feel good. And I feel like it often punishes the power players, it disproportionately punishes the lazy gamers like me or the casual gamers like me more than the power players. They're going to get their DPS rotations to something ridiculous anyway. They're going to be fine. They're probably going to run things with their guilds, so it won't affect them. But for people like me, where I'm mostly pugging or I'm doing an open world meta event, it's going to have an impact. Dragon's End will fail more for me. I don't do it very often, and so now I'm even less motivated to do it. E-Park's probably going to fail more often for me. All of those. So, it doesn't feel good. I'm sure I'll be fine. There's lots of things I enjoy about this game. I've been PvPing more lately, but I don't think that this was smart on ArenaNet's behalf. I think, if anything, they should have buffed boss HP totals in either older content or in the raids themselves, instead of nerfing things across the board. The other issue that I have with this too is that Mirage is an older spec, right? It's not the OP Troubadour. It's, you know, and it doesn't feel good in a horizontal progression game to lose options or to have options become less desirable. It ruins the feel of the progression. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. I hope that you had a chance to look at the balance changes. I'll go ahead and link it. I certainly hope that, you know, any of my close call clears, we're not relying on builds that are taking those heavy hits. And hope you have a great day. Happy gaming. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.